Hello everyone, MightyMechanic here, back again. This is part 2 with the 6-liter engine swap. If you didn't see part 1 already where we removed the cab, be sure to go down in the description. I'll leave a link for you if you want to see part 1. In this part we're going to be stripping down and removing the engine from the frame. As you see here, we are also power washing frame here. We had the bed off and it's nothing to do with taking the engine out. We're just doing it so we can clean the frame up. So let's go ahead and jump in and start taking this engine apart. Alright, so we're going to start off by taking the turbo off here. There are 2 bolts on top holding this little line, this oil line on top. I believe they're either 10 or 13 millimeter. You can remove both of those and then put it back in there so you don't lose them. And then remove that little bracket on the intake over there. And now you have an electrical connector on the turbo you can remove. And here we are removing the clamp that holds the exhaust pipe onto the turbo. You just go ahead and remove it all the way, remove the nut, and then you can take a screwdriver and break it free. It probably get rusted. This one was rusted underneath, so yours is probably going to be the same way. You have to take a screwdriver and you'll see, here we go, popping it loose and then it'll come off. Then now we are taking off the exhaust pipe that goes from the manifold to the turbo. We have 2 bolts on the driver's side, 2 bolts on the passenger side, and then a clamp that holds it to the turbo. You can use a wrench to hold the nut on the bottom and then a ratchet or an impact on top. Here we're removing the clamp here. So once you get your clamp off there, so now we're taking the bolts off on the other side. And then once you get those bolts off, you should be able to just grab it and pull it right off, just like that. Alright, so here's where the clamp is. We have a clamp right there, clamp right here. Those 2 bolts I told you about earlier, the electrical connector. Also, you're going to remove the exhaust right here. You can go ahead and loosen those 2 nuts up on that clamp and take the exhaust pipe off of the turbo to that part right there. Here we are removing this computer on the side of the engine here. There's just 4 bolts holding it. Then you're going to have 3 electrical connectors underneath. You use a screwdriver to pop the little clips out, hold them on there. And then once you're done removing your computer, you're going to remove the bracket underneath. I believe there were 4 bolts holding it, but 1 was missing, so there should be 4, 1 on each corner. And that just slides right off just like that. Alright, so here's the bolts for the valve cover. Take note which ones are studded, because they need to be in that order when they go back in, because like your dipstick here has a nut on it to hold the dipstick on, stuff like that. So your bolts have to go in, your studded ones have to go back in the same spot. So just take note where all your studded ones are. I think to remove this hose here and get your valve cover off. And then your electrical connector right here, you have to remove. You see you're unplugging that. And you can get that out of your way. And then now you can go ahead and start undoing your valve cover bolts. Remove them all, and then now you should be able to grab your valve cover and it should pull right out. Alright, so here's under the valve cover. So you're going to have this oil rail. You have this hose right there. The earlier models have this hose. You'll have to have a special tool to remove it. I'll put a link in the description for you, but we'll go back to that in a minute. Right now we're going to remove the bolts for this fan shroud. We did this, it was actually a little easier to remove the bolts to the fan shroud and then slide the shroud a little bit forward so we can get the wrench back behind it to get the fan off. It's your call if you want to leave it the shroud where it is and then take the fan off first and take the shroud off, you can. But we'll take the fan off here in a minute. Right now we're going to go to the turbo again. We're gonna remove this little hose here. You get a little clamp on top, and you can pull this out. And then you're gonna have a bolt down in there, down in that little hole right there. You have a bolt that holds the turbo on. You have to get a wrench down in there and get it, but you're gonna have one there, and then on the other side, I'll show you in a minute. You're gonna have two more on the other side right there. See that? And I'll give you an up close here in a second. Alright, so here are those bolts right here. See that? One on that side and one on this side over here. And then you're going to have one right down in there. This is one I was telling you that's a little hard to get to, but it's not too bad. And then here are the bolts that hold it on. These are the back bolts here. That's what they look like. They have those thick washers on them. And like I said, those are the ones that come off the back right there. Also, you're going to have a hose right where it's pointed. You're going to have a hose down in there you get to remove. But when you pull the turbo out, it'll come with it. You'll see. When you pull the turbo up, see right here, it'll free that hose. But you have to pull on it, give it some pressure because it's going to have to come off that hose. This is the hose. See it right there? That hose, you have to get off that hose right there. So here I'm just showing you same thing as the other side. Take this valve cover off. Take note where the studded ones are, the studded bolts. Remove this bracket right there. Alright, so now we're going to start working on getting this oil rail off. So like I said, that line right there, that hose, is only on the earlier models, but you can order the tool to get them off. Here we are removing the electrical connectors. There's little clips, C-clips, that hold the connectors that go to the fuel injectors. So once you remove those little clips, you can just grab them and pull the harness off here. And then now you can go ahead and unbolt your oil cooler. Not oil cooler, oil rail, I'm sorry. You can use a screwdriver. As you already removed that hose, we just took a big wrench and took it off right there, but you're still gonna need the tool if you have that hose anyway, because you have to take the hose off the head to put on your new engine. Here we are moving the injectors. Moving my hand first, you don't use it out. It's better to hand loosen them first because they're torque, so you don't want to strip them, and then you can use your impact if you have one. Here we are finishing up the injectors here. You can just use some needle nose pliers and some screwdrivers. You see on one side where you have your screwdrivers, pushing in the little tabs, and you can use some pliers on the other side and pull it through, just like that. So you put screwdrivers on there, push those tabs in, take your pliers, pull it through. Simple. But now you can just pull your injectors out. Now we had ours sent off to get tested. It's recommended to do that. There's a company that does it. You send them off and they will basically clean them out for you, test them, and put new seals on them for you. So it's a good idea to do that while you're doing this engine. Here we're the same thing as the other side. We're just taking this oil rail off. Same thing over again. Take those little clips out, take the wires apart, pull your injectors. You're gonna want to get a pan for your oil rail too, because you're gonna get quite a bit of oil that comes out. Alright, so here is the front pulleys. So you're now going to remove all your belts. Oh, so here we removed the fan on the front, as you see there. We just took an Allen wrench and stuck it in this hole and put it up against this tensioner here. That way you can take a wrench and remove your fan. You can use a fan clutch tool, but ours didn't quite fit right, so we just ended up using this pipe wrench right here. And we took this bar right here and put it on the end of this pipe wrench so we have more leverage. Made it much easier. And then here is the fan here. See, that right there is a nut you have to remove. You have to put that pipe wrench on that nut and then turn it off. And then there is the shroud. You also have to remove the electrical connector that goes to the clutch as well. And now we're removing the belts here. You can use your 1/2-inch breaker bar to loosen your tensioner and pull your belt off. This one has 2 belts on it. So if you have 2 belts, go ahead and remove both of them. And now we're removing the alternators. Now this engine has 2 alternators. Some do, some don't. So if you have 2, obviously go ahead and remove both of them. And then you're gonna unplug them in the back. See here, you're gonna have a little electrical connector. You're just gonna push in that little tab with your thumb. You can pull it apart. You're also gonna have a battery cable. It goes to it right here. You have to undo that nut and then pull this cable off right here. All right, now we're gonna remove the upper alternator. Stick your bolts back in there so you don't lose them. And now we're going to remove the fuel lines and the oil lines here that go to the filters on top. You can just use a wrench here. And on some of these I had to use 2 wrenches, one to hold the fitting and one to turn the line off because it was turning the whole fitting with it. So you might have to use 2 wrenches to hold it. Alright, so go ahead and remove these bolts here. You have, I believe there's 4 of these. They're Torx head bolts. 2 down in there, 1 right there, and then 1 on that side. And then you can remove it. You're going to use a Torx head. I use this extension on a ratchet. I use a ratchet too, not an impact, because I don't want to break the Torx head. And you can strip them much easier than regular bolts. So. And then there are the lines there. Like I said, you have to remove about 4 lines. You can go ahead and unplug this electrical connector here so you can get it out of your way, this wiring harness out of your way. So now you can pull that back so you can get your oil filters out, and your oil filter and your fuel filter. You just pull on that once you get your bolts out, and then that should slide right up. Okay, so now we're going to remove, see these little brackets here you have to remove to get to your intake manifold off. So you have a bolt right there. There's 2 bolts I just showed you. You're going to remove a little hose. You're going to have a little vacuum right here. And then there's another vacuum. See, one of these you don't have to remove because it's not going to do anything. It goes to the body, so it's already disconnected from taking the frame or the body off. So this one right here, you can leave on there if you want to. And then you have to remove all your wiring harnesses here. Okay, so here's all your bolts. Take note again which ones have studs on them. So remove all those bolts there, and then now go ahead and remove your wiring harness. Here I'm just removing a electrical connector. Okay, so once you get that out of your way, I already had this unbolted and everything. So remove your hose. I ended up removing that anyway, just so it wasn't in my way. You don't have to, but it will make it easier. Not in your way, I guess. So here's the electrical or the wiring harness for the injectors, and then now you can just pick up on. Oh, also here you have to remove your EGR. This has EGR delete on it, so just remove the hose that goes to where the EGR used to be right there. Remove that clamp. If you do have EGR on your truck, then you would have to remove the EGR system on it. But okay, so here is that hose I was talking about. Not hose, but like little metal pipe that goes to the turbo. You can just stick your screwdriver down in here and just pop that out, and then you can take that hose out. And there's that hose. So once you get this out, now you can remove your bracket for your turbo. You have you have a bolt on each side. You have a. See, I'm showing you all the bolts here. Remove all these. I believe these were 10mm, and then you're gonna have some for this plate here that covers up the oil pump, high pressure oil pump, I believe it's called. And then here are the bolts around this thing. This is for the where the filters sit on top of. So go ahead and remove all 3 of those. Also, you have to remove this little plate in the back, this heat shield, to get to this cover, this high pressure oil pump cover thing. And here I'm just sticking the bolts back in there just so I don't lose them. I know I'll need them on the new engine, but I'm just going to put them here just so I don't lose them. I can always go back to the old engine and get them when I need them. Okay, so now we're moving this housing here. This has a lot of oil on the bottom of it, so you might want to get a pan for it. Okay, so here, I'm gonna pull that electrical connector through, unplug that. There's also that wire right there. There's an electrical connector way down in there that you can't really see. That one right there. It goes, you have to feel around for it, and you've got to reach down in there and unplug it. It's right down in there. I know you can't see it, but that's where it is, right behind the power steering pump. Remove that. See, that's the end of it. You just stick your hand in there, push your thumb in that tab right there, and it'll unlock it for you so you can unplug it. And here is an electrical connector that goes to the AC compressor. Go ahead and remove that. You're going to have one more electrical connector that you cannot get to until you lift your engine up and remove the compressor, which you'll see here in a minute when we do that. So I'm just going to leave this one wire on. You can see that one wire going up in there. And then you can go ahead and unplug this right here though. Get that out of your way. Now you can grab your wiring harness and put it all over here so you can get out of your way. Okay, so now we're going to start removing the pulleys. So I believe these were 13mm, some were 15. Just start taking all your pulleys off. Take note which ones go where. Or just take pictures. It's good to take your own pictures as well, just so you know where everything goes. I know you can watch this video too to see where everything goes, but it's good to take your own pictures and videos too. So just start removing all this stuff. For your flywheel, you may have to tap it like this with a hammer just so you can break it loose. And then you're gonna want to remove these long bolt things. Remove all those things. They're like long nuts with threads on the end of them. I need those for your new engine. Okay, here we're removing that electrical connector up top. Now we're moving the fuel lines out of the way here. And then remove this hose. and also this oil passage line right here. When I'm moving over there, you can move all your little lines right like that. There should be, I think there's like 2 on the front of the engine you have to remove. Okay, now I'm moving that little stud at the bottom there. You're gonna need that for your new engine. And now these fuel lines can come out. Once we get that hose out of the way, get all that stuff out of the way, you can pull your fuel lines out of there. That's right, I had to remove this little line right here I had to remove that line first, and then I could remove the fuel line. Okay, so we put this board underneath the transmission. This is for when you take the engine out and you have the transmission just sitting there after the engine's already out. When you're actually taking the engine out though, what we did is put a floor jack underneath the transmission with a block of wood so we could jack it up and down so we could free up the engine. And then here are the bolts for the bell housing all down the sides here. The 2 on the bottom are shorter than the rest of them, the 2 very bottom ones. Okay, so you're going to have your engine mounts underneath the frame here. You got to remove, there's 2 on each side. I believe those were 22 or 24 millimeter. They're pretty big, so you're going to need to get underneath there and take them out. There's the other one there. Same on the other side. And then also you're going to have your starter and heater block wires. You'll see here in a second. You're gonna have to remove those and then slide them through the engine mount. They go in the engine mount. So unplug them, and then pick your engine up a little bit, and then you can pull them through. There's gonna be a little bracket right down in there. On this side here, there's gonna be a little bracket down in there. You'll see us removing them here in a second, but you're also gonna have a little plastic clip that is holding the wires in place with electrical tape around them. You can take a screwdriver and cut the electrical tape, and then you can pull the wires through. So you'll see here in a second what I mean. So now we are taking the bolts out here of the transmission. Yeah, I'm working on taking the starter wires off. Here's the starter wires here. You're gonna have a large wire and a smaller wire. I believe one is 13, one is 10, I believe. And then here is the heater block, or block heater wire that goes right there. On this side over here, see where that socket is? You're going to remove that. That's a little bracket that holds the transmission cooler lines, I believe, on right there. So remove that, pull your bracket off, and I believe there's also a bracket that holds your wiring harness too. So pull all that stuff off, and then you'll be able to slide your wires through after everything is disconnected. So when you're lifting your engine up, you got to make sure, just look around, make sure there's nothing still connected, just take your time. Also, when you lift your engine up, be sure to put a little pressure on your transmission as well, because you don't want to lift your engine up way in the air and your jack is still way down, and then when your engine frees up, you don't want your transmission to drop. So make sure you got your pressure on your transmission as well. So here the transmission just let loose at the engine. And then, like I said, once you get your engine out, you can let it down on that board that's sitting across, and then it'll hold your transmission up. Okay, so here I'm moving that, remember I told you earlier you have to remove the AC compressor. So I'm going to remove that now so I can get to that electrical connector behind it. We're just gonna set the engine down on like a pallet. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out part 1 if you didn't see it, and part 3 will be out here soon. If you're watching this way in the future, then it's already out by now. I will leave a link to it up here in the right corner. You'll see here in a minute. Be sure to subscribe to see all my latest videos, and thank you for watching. I'll see y'all next time.